My brother-in-law currently lives in Thailand. He's a three-time world champion Muay Thai fighter. He stepped in the ring with literally the best of the best in the world. And we're going to be talking about mentally preparing, right, for being on a big stage, which is applicable to our business. We're going to talk about practice, right, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, and how that prepares you to perform in that, in that moment. We're going to talk about some mindset stuff and how to get through things when we don't want to. We're going to talk about, when you're challenged and in a market like this, and it's, it's hard to really keep grinding and going forward. What that looks like if, you're in the middle of the round and, something bad happens, right? And you just got to make it to that bell. So I'm going to do my best to apply the mindset that he's put, in place for himself back to our industry, and hopefully give our agents some insight and some tools and tactics to, help them see this challenging market through.
Good. Well, and Bill, so that'll be next Monday. So we'll definitely let everyone know regarding the time if that needs to be shifted. I would also say, with that, I like what you mentioned about mindset. When we're looking at the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book that a lot of you have read, the first 100 pages are really all about mindset. And I would just say, in today's market, I think that mindset piece is critical. And as we shift into today's call, so we have close to 40 people on with us today, Bill, and I know they're all dying to hear some tips from you regarding inventory and getting listings. So I want to shift, onto that now to be able to focus on the listing portion of our call.
Yeah, guys, awesome. So I'm glad we have a good turnout here. It turns out that I'm going to be doing this, at least a good portion of this, from the road today, which is not my original intentions. My schedule just had a last minute flip in it. So nonetheless, the information will be the same here. So for many of you guys right now, you're experiencing what most of the industry is, and it's a really scarce selection of inventory. And the traditional ways of gathering listings might feel like they're a little too slow moving in order for us to get that inventory and get it on the market and get it on now, so that we can capitalize for our clients in this market, and then make sure that we're churning right through this market with the constant inflow or influx of new inventory. Now, for those of you who have handled your business like the pipeline focused business that we've talked about over the last few years, where you're focused on your pipelines, naturally prospecting and naturally creating sales, you'll notice that the squeeze may not feel as strong on you and your business as some others. For those who are strictly focused on the prospecting book end of the business or the sales end of the business, this squeeze has really created some challenges, just because, again, that normal flow has been interrupted by there just being a lack of inventory out there. So what I would like us to do today is to open up the floor, and in true mastermind fashion, make sure that I hear what other people are doing, and say that the premise that we're setting for the discussion today is, if we needed listings in the next 3 weeks, right? What processes, what activities can we do, and what activities have some of you guys been doing in order to create quick turnarounds in listings? So somebody I don't know, or maybe I do know them, but don't know they're selling their house, would raise their hand and turn into a listing within a 3-4 week period. What are those tactics? So we're going to move away a little bit from what should always continue to take place, which is longer term battle for mind share, right? Branding, touching base, our 33, 36 touches, so that we're in that right spot in their mind when it comes time for the natural sales cycle. But what exercises can we do right now to speed up that process and get in front of some people? I'd like to hear what some of you guys are doing to get us started.
Aaron and I, wait, let me turn my my thing. Erin and I have started just kind of thinking outside the box. So instead of just really reaching out to just real estate people like our inspectors, our real estate lawyers, we started reaching out to just regular business owners, asking them how their business is, if they have a preferred realtor, and asking for their business. So we started implementing that, and then we just started going and visiting some assisted living places in hopes to become their preferred realtor, and doing, because I guess what happens is families then have to take their older, say moms or dads or grandparents, and put them into an assisted living, and sometimes they need to sell their parents' home. So we went in and asked if they had a preferred realtor, and so far 3 companies have not. And they took us in. We're going for 2 more showings of the assisted living, and they never really had a realtor approach them that way. And, we're hoping to get some more business that way. So we're actually going to start doing some seminars, because we have helped a couple families. So, we're somewhat familiar, and they want to invite us back and have seminars with family members, kind of help them along. It's kind of a, like a big step for people to, take their family, their moms or their dads, put them into an assisted living. And now, oh my God, now I have to list their house, so they have a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. So those are 2 things that we just implemented. I want to say like maybe a week, 2 weeks ago. So hopefully we get some business from that, because everything else, people are really scared nowadays. They don't, selling their house sounds great. They can make some extra money, but they don't necessarily have a place to go. So that's kind of scaring people away that we've talked to from listing their houses.
Got it. So I'll take a couple things. First of all, thank you, Kristen, for being the first to jump in. That was really, really good info. I'm going to break it into a couple different parts. So what I heard there was focusing on nursing homes, assisted livings, right? Senior care is actually a really smart move, because a lot of that demand is pent up, right? So you didn't have a lot of people in the last 12 months rushing into those kind of facilities or living arrangements. So certainly a place to, interject and work to build relationships. It may take, a little while to get it going, but if you can get in, for a seminar or get in for any kind of referral thing, that might be somewhere where you get a quick, listing. Right. So I think that's awesome. Business owners that are local, anything for them, Kristen?
So far we're just in the process of setting up appointments, so we'll start meeting with them next week. So it's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Bill, did you guys lose Bill? Bill, are you there?
It froze.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we did lose Bill.
Okay, so it seems like Bill, it seems like you're frozen. So I guess, let's see. So while Bill's coming back, so Kristen, again, thank you so much for sharing, that. And I think, keep us posted as to how your conversations go with the business owners next week. I think that's a great idea to reach out to some of your allied resources. So it's a phenomenal idea there. Now, who else? So who else, as Bill comes back on, looks like he hopped off to hop back on. What else are you guys experiencing, or what else are you guys trying that maybe you're getting some success or some challenges that you're facing out there right now? Aida, are you unmuted to say something?
Yes, I'm on mute. Yes, to say something. Well, first of all, I was going to ask you to remind about the red day. And
Yep.
I do have a challenge. I have a challenge where a lot of people, like I wish I can, I don't know how to explain to people or how make it more clear of importance of this market, and it's not going to be like this forever. They understand they wanted to sell and they're like, yeah, they're more laid back. And I feel like by the time you act on it, it will be gone. So
Right.
how to make that more clear for them?
Right. I'm back. I think. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
All right. All right, cool. So if I lose you guys again, I promise I'm gonna be parked in a stable area in just a couple minutes. So back to Kristen's, and then we can jump into what Aida just said here too. So with Kristen, I got a couple of agents really up and running down in Jersey City a couple years ago. And one of the things we put our heads together about was partnering with local businesses and going in and doing kind of cross promotion, right? So almost an agreement where you would endorse them. And in turn, you know, if they're and when they become across somebody who's talking about selling their home, they would pass it to you. So any business that you can identify that has a healthy flow of clients, like a barber or a hairdresser, somebody like that who's sitting in front. I bet you once a week they're in front of somebody talking about selling their house. To find the person who owns that salon and have a conversation about you promoting their salon on, whether it be your social media, to your circle, etc. And in turn that you would like to be, their preferred realtor, really can go a long way in something like this. So as with any business or anything that you want to take, it's always nice to have some value to give first. So when dealing with local business owners, some of the best things you could do, especially for some of these restaurants and stuff that are reopening, is to help promote them and then in turn, ask for referrals back to the house when it comes to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? The value there is really important, the give and the take. But I think that's great to tap the local businesses, especially because a lot of them are hoping to kind of sprint out of this thing here now. I'll touch upon what Aida said, and I've said this on a few occasions in different areas. So some people may have heard this before, and if you do, that's good because it's just repetition. But one thing we're finding a ton of success with the people who are thinking about selling their house, but they don't, feel 100% comfortable that they have a place to go, or they're not sure if now is the time, is to just use the normal way people make decisions to assist, right? It's not our job to convince somebody of something, but it is our job to show them all the options. And in most cases, people are saying, yeah, there's an upside to selling my house right now, but there's also a downside. The downside is I'm not going to have anywhere to go. I may overpay for my next house. And in human decision-making, your avoidance of pain is likely to win out over your pursuit of pleasure. That's just one of two ways people make decisions. And thus you get the result of them deciding not to sell their house and just stay still for a little while. So we have to introduce a potential additional pain. And it's not to say that we're doing that in order to make them make a decision that they normally wouldn't. It's to make sure that they have all of the information that they need in order to make a decision based on the facts that are in place right now. So what we really need to do is make sure that we identify what the market is, why it's like this, right? There's a big imbalance here in the market, and it's based on there being a whole bunch of buyers, not a lot of sellers. So you can take advantage of this from a sale perspective, but it is going to be a little challenging on the purchase end. However, we have some tools and some strategies that we can implement to make that transition a little smoother. Conversely, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you'd like to wait, I fully have your back in whatever decision you make, but understand that there's likely a cost to that as well. So when it becomes easier to find a property to purchase, when there's more to choose from by default, there will be less imbalance in the market. So the value of your house in almost every situation is going to come down. So that trade-off might be $25,000, $30,000, which by the way is tax-free. If we wait until the market softens a little bit for you to make that move. So, Mr. Seller, only you can make that decision as to whether it's the right time or not. But if we do hang out a little bit, I'm not doing my job as an advisor if I don't at least mention the fact that will likely have repercussions, financially, unless the market continues to go up, in which it'll be even increasingly harder to find a place as well. So I say that to show them both sides, so that their decision, every decision we make, has consequences. So the decision that may seem like I'm playing it safe actually may be a challenge. And for someone who's monetarily driven, that's going to be a big problem. And that might push them to say, hey, wait, what are some of those techniques you can use to make this transition a little bit easier? For someone that's very safety driven, your high SCs, right? For those folks, it may very well make sense for them just to stay completely put and wait. And then that's okay, because we gave them that option there as well. Make sense? Any other thoughts or questions on that?
Yes. Hi, this is Abel.
Hey, Abel.
Hey. So to piggyback off the previous points with Kristen and Aida and yourself. Example, I actually had a listing appointment with a buddy of mine in Cranford a couple weeks ago. So to address number A, the low inventory, he wants to upgrade his property in the same town. However, based on the properties we've seen, him and his wife are obviously of that mindset that if we sell, we might not be able to afford to buy in this current market, is A. So to your point about having tools to be able to, I guess, navigate the process smoother, and me being a complete noob in the process, would you mind maybe expressing some of those tools allocated to us in terms of making a smooth transition from selling and buying in a seamless manner? And then B, along the lines of the same property, when we met for the listing appointment, he stated to me that another brokerage that is currently his mortgage brokerage too, offered him a 3.99%, I guess, listing fee, and a 15% credit on the buyer side if he was to use their brokerage for both the mortgage and the housing needs. So how would I address that in rebuttal, knowing that we don't charge less than 5% unless that municipality specifically states that's a 4% charge? So that's question one. And then my other question is, I met with another potential listing in Wanacue that he wants to flip his house in Wanacue and go to Wayne or Clifton, being such low inventory right now, for a 1-to-1 ratio without having to pay up for new property. So going back to that mindset and low inventory, that he's afraid that if he sells his house in Wanacue for let's say 450 or 470, that he might not be able to find a property that was suitable to his needs for under 600.
Okay, so I'm going to try to address all of those as fast as possible. I want to make sure that we stay true to topic in making the conversation focused on things that we can use to get listings now. Now I'll be able to fold some of this in there to say, hey, you guys might have listing leads that are incubating that we're having a hard time pushing over because of this. But there are some, for instance, the low commission on the other end, we could have an entire mastermind on just that, right? I mean, I could talk for an hour on different positioning ways and stuff to get through that. And I want to make sure that we give really strong information here to the agents plugged into this call and things that they can do to get more listing leads here in the short term. But that being said, if you're running into clients who are in a position where they want to sell their house, but they're worried about the transition, we have tools as agents that we can set up. First and foremost, the best tool that a seller has in today's world is you can always say no. right? We can list your property, and if the offers that come in do not work for you and your family, you can always say no. That immediately removes a ton of tension from the room where people are feeling like they're going to be forced to be homeless, right? So if we can't get the terms that work for you, then we continue to market, or maybe we pull it back off for a little and try it again. People need to know you're on their side from a listing perspective. Tool number 2, potentially, is a quick closing and then a use and occupancy agreement for a long period of time, right? So in those situations, Mr. Seller, we would actually have a buyer who could potentially close in 30 to 45 days. All of that money goes in your bank account. You now no longer have a contingency. So you're in the driver's seat as a seller. And then we, work to negotiate for you a long period of time where you can effectively rent the house back, right? So you don't have to pack anything up or do anything until you're ready. A lot of buyers in today's market are so focused on getting a house and just securing the contract that for them, they'd be willing to enter into a contract where they can let the seller stay for 3, 4, and I had one last year for 5 months after the closing in order to put themselves in a position where they know they had their house. Now, a lot of people when that started probably told the buyer they were stupid, right? You're nuts to do that and then let somebody rent it back from you for 5 months. Well, they were in a month to month, so it didn't matter. They ended up closing last fall. Sounds to me like they made a pretty smart move because they might still be out there competing, right? In a market that's now gone up 8% since then. So they'd be paying 30, 40,000 more for the same house and still not have secured a house if they as a buyer weren't comfortable getting creative and letting that seller stay for a period of time that allowed them to find something. So Mr. Seller, that's another tool that we can use and ask our buyers who would be interested in doing that. We can also necessitate a really long closing period to make sure that you have time to get out there and find a place that works or is right for you. Ask them if they have a temporary place to go, right? So that they can be there and transition and explore those tools and options that take the pressure off the, oh my God, I'm going to sell. And in 60 days, I got to be out of my house and have to be somewhere else. So those are 3 of several options that we can tell a seller that's going to remove some of that tension of feeling like they're going to get stuck without a place to go. As far as the low commission fee for a cooperating broker and kicking money back and stuff, I'm going to keep this one really quick. It's super common for us to have agents join from other brokerages who often use commission to negotiate, right? And that's really, it's a tough spot to be in. And if the other party is properly positioning against that, it can actually make the person who's negotiating on commission alone look weak from a negotiating perspective. So at the end of the day, I would always refer to a certain commission as standard, right? And in that conversation, there are a whole bunch of scripts that we can work through that I'm going to have Matt, if you can please put on our next mastermind, not this next one, but the following one. Actually, you know what? Let me do this. Let's make next Monday's mastermind negotiating for top commission. And then I'll move Og, our guest, to the first slot in the following month because we're going to have to move that early. Because I think that is important for people right now because there is a lot of downward pressure on commissions. So our entire next mastermind will be based on getting commissions and competing against people who are cutting those commissions from a credit perspective. Look, at the end of the day, we have one job, and that's to convince our sellers that we are going to get their property in front of more people than anybody else. And that equals more money. Okay. I like to use, lines like, when is the last time you made a decision solely based on who was the cheapest and how did that work out for you, right? In our business, it's not the fact that somebody can sell your house. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I promise you in this market, you could put this house on the market and sell it yourself. 100%. I know you could sell this yourself. The question is, who's going to get you in front of the most amount of people and get you the most money, right? So in a case where somebody walks in and says, I'm going to reduce my commission right out of the gate, I'm going to take money out of my own pockets, which I'm making my business operate off of, which I'm feeding my family off of, and I'm so quick to drop that commission, how do you think that person is equipped, and how do you think that person will handle when it comes time to negotiate for your best interest? So a quick little script that I have when I'm up against somebody with a reduced commission. Abel, and you can work with me here on this one. So let me ask you a question. Abel, you're the seller. Do you consider yourself a good negotiator?
Yes.
You're the seller. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
No, I have no
Yeah,
idea what I'm
yeah.
doing. That's why I have you.
Okay. Awesome. So here's what I'm going to ask you. You don't even consider yourself a good negotiator, and you have just gotten this other agent to drop their commission well below what's even considered the industry standard. And I'm not sure if they discuss some of the dangers of dropping that commission that way, which we could talk about in a few minutes. But you don't even consider yourself a good negotiator, and you've now out negotiated the person that you're about to put your largest asset into their hands, right? So I'm going to give you the number, if you'd like, of somebody who, again, you could list this house yourself. Just put it on the MLS. And if you want to negotiate this thing on your own, it sounds to me like you could save that whole 3.99%, because at the end of the day, it sounds like you're actually a better negotiator than the other party that you're hoping is going to negotiate top dollar for you.
Well, I didn't negotiate it. It happens to be a service that they offer, provided we have the same mortgage and stuff. It's publicly stated on the website.
Okay, which is not legal, number one. Number two, it's even scarier, right? That we would be in a position to advertise what wouldn't even be considered a standard. So if they couldn't even try to negotiate for that standard number, I would be a bit concerned about that. Did they take the time or put a disclaimer on their website when they talk to you about some of the negatives and the dangers about listing at a low commission?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Okay, because I think that's really important. So what I'd like to do is just take a minute or two, and I'm going to show you the last 20 houses to sell in your town in this price range. And we're going to take a look at how much they were offering the buyer's broker, right? As far as compensation goes. And what you'll come to see is that in almost every case, they're offering a minimum of 2.5% out to the buyer's broker, right? Your job as a seller is to make sure you get in front of as many people as possible. One extra deal, one extra offer can be the difference of tens, if not in the higher price ranges, guys, hundreds of thousands of dollars in your pocket. If you miss one buyer, that could have a tremendous effect on your bottom line. So when we're presenting a property, we need to make sure that in every way we're putting it out there to where it's at least going to meet what the industry standard is. Now, if there's 10 other properties that get listed and 9 of them are offering 2.5%, the standard commission rate, to a buyer's broker, and yours comes on offering a discount of 2%, when that buyer's agent, and I'm not saying this is the right way to make a decision, but this is also how we see this happen sometimes, when that buyer's agent has spent countless hours and potentially lost a few bidding wars with this person, whose home do you think they're going to show first, right? And again, I'm not saying that that's the right way for an agent to make a decision, but if an agent is investing their time and energy, and this is how they put food on the table, and that somebody is offering a discounted commission to them, you got to imagine that that may very well have an impact on how many people you get your home in front of, right? If that one extra person was willing to pay a lot more, that could be a challenge. So in cases like that, to save 1% could very easily cost you, 5, 10%, if that one person was that person who created a bidding war. So guys, without going too deep into this particular back and forth, I've done numerous times for our office, and I'll do it again. Our entire prosperity listing consultation presentation is built off of getting you in front of more people than anybody else. When we talk about the exposure of the brand, the exposure of the company, the exposure of the team, the exposure of the collaboration, our MLS statistics, our ability to get in front of tens of thousands of people, more people in the first week than a lot of organizations over 6 months. When we get to this point of the conversation, it's much less likely that we're going to end up where somebody is just arguing over commission or haggling over commission because they're understanding that they're not getting all that potential for exposure with the other one. And we have already built the case that their success, their income is tied to being in front of more people. So that when they bring up an objection like this, we can easily tie it to the main point and say, hey, do you think that's going to get you in front of more people than anywhere else? And I'm, as an agent looking to get you in front of as many people as possible. I couldn't in good conscience advertise a discounted
Sorry,
commission.
I muted you
because-
somehow. They come straight from practice, I guess.
Guys, if we're not on, if we could just hit mute for me, please. So that is really important information to have backloaded, and entering into a listing consultation, set the table. It's very rare I ever hear things like that, because by the time I get there, they've already completely discounted anybody who's coming in trying to discount. But good questions. So we're going to be putting that on to next week's mastermind, right?
Yep, that's good.
All right. So let's pull this back, guys, to actual things we could do right here this week that could turn into a listing in 3 weeks. Anybody else have anything that they could recommend?
Bill, it's Kevin.
Hey, Kev.
Hey, I recommend, I have a question. Maybe I can be enlightened. I've got a seller who needs to list, but holding off because they need a rental. And we know that the rental market is even worse or even tougher than the sale market, right? And so her fear is, well, we're going to put the house out and I'll have nowhere to go. Now, of course, we can do a contingency and all that. We know nobody really wants that stuff. But considering how dismal the rental situation is, what do you recommend? I mean, should I list it and sort of like push and roll craps, or hold off?
I wouldn't necessarily play hard gamble on it, but I would say let's list it. We're going to put it as a term that we are able to secure a rental and make it contingent on that.
Okay.
So the good thing is as out of balance as this market has gone, it also gives a ton of strength to a seller. So in a normal market, no buyer would ever consider that. They'd be like, hell no chance.
That's true.
The problem is your seller is you're not going to want your seller to commit to signing a lease before they've at least gotten through some of these contingencies, right?
Yeah.
Before they've gone through the home inspection contingency, all that, because now they're on the hook for a mortgage and for a lease. So unless we interject a contingency where we can be creative and make both worlds win, right? So we're going to have a 3-week contingency that my buyer can find a rental, but that's going to be contingent on you closing your inspections out and having your appraisal done in 3 weeks. So now you're using that to put pressure on the buyer. And
Yeah.
if this does not work out, my seller is willing to give you your money back for your inspections, right? We just took a lot of that tension out of the buy side. So now buyer's like, all right, cool. This might be an opportunity for me to be able to secure a house, give them some flexibility to find something. And now the seller's actually able to sign a lease because those contingencies are clear. If the point to a seller is, hey, here's the problem. If the right rental came on tomorrow, you can't take it anyway, because
Right.
now you don't have those other pieces in place. So you end up with this cycle. Now, Mr. Seller, we have two choices. We can either try to be creative, get it on, see what interested buyer we can get and how we can work this to your advantage so you can get the best of both worlds, or market cools off a little bit, but then when the market cools off, that could, potentially cost us $20,000, $30,000 too. I just want to be clear with you that the numbers we're talking about now may not be there if we wait until this situation that we love on this end is no longer there on this end. So
Yeah.
be creative. We had a buyer sit there for 6 months and wait for a seller to find something. So yeah. And look, sometimes it takes educating the buyer's agent too. The buyer's agent, who the heck would ever do that? And say, listen, if somebody locked up a deal last September with a 6-month agreement and this month they're moving in, I think they're pretty happy, right? They're also probably getting deal of the year right now because of where pricing has gone. No
Sure.
one knows where it's going to go, but there's a good chance the longer they wait, the more they can, as a buyer, okay, now you're in the driver's seat because you get to lock in that price now and then let it, continue to run. If the market continues to skyrocket, that's okay because you're positioned really well in there. So be creative. And my goal is get as many offers as possible and then put out to the buyers what the terms are that the seller wants. And
Right.
believe it or not, you're seeing a lot of buyers right now do some pretty creative things in order to just be able to say, okay, finally I'm in an under contract status and I have a
Right.
place, even if I might not be able to get in it for 6 months.
Sure, because they can't find what they want either. So everybody's in the same boat in a sense, right?
Exactly. So if we can create a world where both kind of get what they want, all right, you get to lock this house up at a price, no one else can steal it from you because you just lost 95 bidding wars in a row. And then on the other side, you got time to go and find something. It creates a really nice win-win where you get both parties smiling for the first time in a long time on a transaction.
Thanks, Bill.
You got it. All these questions, guys, are good ones because in many cases, this is what's preventing us from getting certain listings. Our pipelines have 30, 40 people in it, but everybody's holding off until things settle down a little bit. Anybody else have any thoughts? So let me put some stuff out there to see if we can get to thinking here in a different way. What do we have to do? Like, let's talk super fundamental. What is the one action we have to do in order to connect with people to get listings?
Pick up the phone and call people.
Awesome, Julia. So, right. So conversations, we can talk to people. It might not have to be over the phone, right?
Mhm.
We got to be able to get our message out. That's key. We have to be able to communicate with people, and we have to be able to do it, in my opinion, when we're in an inventory crunch like this, in a way that's scalable and super fast, right? Touching 5 people in your circle every day probably isn't going to bring this wave of listings that you would love to see to really take advantage of this market. So I think we got to think scalable, and how can we communicate with people, and how can we communicate with them in a way that's going to bring business to us quickly. So Matt, you on with us?
Sorry, yeah, I'm muted. I'm unmuted now.
Matt Billheimer?
Yep.
Okay, sorry,
Can you
buddy.
hear me?
So Matt,
I was
if I
muted.
told you, no problem. I know you're always listening. If I said, hey Matt, I need you to reach 300 agents by the end of tomorrow, what are some ways you can go about doing that?
Email.
Not our agents,
Uh,
other agents.
So one thing that I've used before is an app called Slide Broadcast, which is essentially, you can upload any database, any contacts in it, and you can record a voicemail and then distribute it to that group of people. It automatically goes to voicemail.
I love it. And I was pretty sure that was the answer you were going to give me, which is why I asked you. So what does that look like? So guys, there's so much noise out there right now. Everybody's competing in the same circle, right? Everybody's blasting social media, a picture of their clients with the keys on the porch and the big smile and thinking of buying or selling. Call us. And I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm not telling you I'm making fun of it. What I am telling you is that everybody's playing this game. So we have to really fast, immediately stand out by taking a different angle, a different approach. Where can we show up that they won't know? Last month, instead of doing a monthly newsletter, I did a little video clip. It was like 3 minutes. And all it was me briefly talking about the market, whether you should move now or wait till later. And then a call to action. If you're even considering selling, just call me so we can talk about those options and you can make the decision that's best for you. But stressing the fact that there's low inventory right now, and then I need sellers, not for me, for Circle of Excellence, not for these ratings all over Zillow, but I need them to help my clients. And people are much, much more likely to help you help someone else. At the same time, you're reinforcing to them that, hey, when it's time for me to buy or sell, I want to use this person because this person is really caring about his people. He's going, the extra mile. So we could use something like BombBomb, right? Where we did, anybody on this call could do a 2-minute video, even if you did 50 different takes of it until you got the one that felt even remotely comfortable, and make it a call to action for listings and send it out to your entire database. Put it on a private YouTube or Vimeo link and text it to people, right? You could hit them that way and just say, hey, I just want to give you a quick update. The market's absolutely insane, right? We're having a great year, but as always, we have a certain set of buyers that we're looking for that perfect house for. And with inventory so low, I'm taking some extra steps and I'm asking you in my circle, who can help me help my clients. If there's anyone that are looking to sell here in the next couple months, next 6 months, please reach out to me or pass me along their contact information or have them reach out to me. So I would love to discuss their options in this market with them and potentially create a match made in heaven for the buyers on our end, right? 1-minute video could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. I send out that email. And for any of our operations side that's in my email, they'll vouch for this. Immediately stuff starts coming back. Hey, Bill, we're back from vacation next month. I want to talk to you. We're back in town. Hey, what do you think my house would go for in this market? I, in an instant, create a world where I've touched so many people at one time, not passively, not just touching them to build my brand, because that is for a different time. But right now we have immediate market needs. We need listings. So I'm being super honest and I'm putting it in a way that's crystal clear. Send me your listings, send me your listing leads so that I can service that. Matt used Slide Broadcaster, which is something that I absolutely love for this particular case. I was in a conference this morning with somebody just trying to strategically figure out the best way to get the message out. And for somebody who's not crazy about being on video, or even if they are, how cool would it be to record a voicemail that says just what I said right now? Hey, it's Julia, long time no talk. I hope all is well. I'm just reaching out to everyone in my circle because, as I'm sure you've heard, the real estate market is crazy right now, right? We are here in search of the perfect home for 10 of our buyers here in the month of May. So anybody that who's looking to sell in 2021, please pass their information along to me right away. As always, I'm here to service you and your clients at the best of my abilities. If you ever need anything in the future, you know where to find me. Until then, have a blessed week, right? So you could click one button and send that voicemail into 1,000 of the contacts in your phone, and you can select who you send that to. And boom, just like that, you've had that quick blast out to a lot of people with that specific call for action. You could do the same thing on social media as well. It's just the problem on social media is you're in the noise, right? There's a million other people doing the same thing. And then there's also other people who are able to see what you're doing and counteract the message, counterbalance the message. And most social media platforms right now, in order for you to get organic content and something that has to do with business, you have to pay for it, as opposed to really leveraging your circle. But those would be two particular areas of video, email to your client database, asking for that business now in a tasteful way. Guys, make sure you tell them that business is great to start it out. Because if you look desperate, nobody's going to want to use you, right? And make sure that you convey it, that you're doing something to help your clients. And then the same thing would go on that Slide broadcast. I would venture to say that if everybody on, if everybody on this call did just that tomorrow, by the end of the week, 50 to 75% of you would have at least one seller lead from just that one practice alone. That would be my guess. Anybody else? I know we're gonna run a couple minutes here overtime because we got to a slow start. Anybody else have anything that could potentially return, right now? Get me business right now. I need listings. I need to fill my pipeline. Thoughts,
Bill,
ideas?
Bill, I was going to hop in and say that my pro tip and big success story from the last week was sending out what I'm calling, or what MAPS coaching has been calling, the golden letter, sending it out on behalf of my buyers to the neighborhood that they're specifically losing out on offers. We include a little bit of personal information about the buyer, maybe their first names, the home that they might have lost out on the offer, like put the address in there. And then I'm mailing that out to the neighborhood around there. Last week I sent out 250 to West Caldwell, and I've already got like 3 seller leads off of it. So
It's amazing. So right on, man. And thank you so much, Scott, for dropping that piece in. That was something that we discussed briefly this morning. I'll just give me 1 sec. I'll jump back to you. Those letters can be invaluable, right? And we had mentioned in our conversation this morning, you could even put, if it's a town you do a lot of work in, someone's working Wayne, someone's working Kinnelon, and you have 5 buyers looking in Kinnelon, list them. Buyer A, here's their needs. Buyer B, here's their needs. So, here are some of our buyers' needs. If you or anyone you know are thinking of selling in the near future, please don't hesitate to reach out. And it is amazing, those returns. I've done them in the past and gotten, like Scott said, he mailed 250 of those letters out, and he ended up getting back a couple at least of listing leads in a really short period of time. And even if it doesn't work out for that buyer, which, let's be honest, statistically, it's not going to, you've now created a relationship with the potential seller who's raised their hand and said, hey, I may very well be interested in selling here. So that's an awesome piece of advice, Scott.
And then just adding on to it, because something you just said is, tying it back into your database. So now what I realized is, because I got response off of that, and because I've got people in my database who are, like you said before, like just not ready to go on market, but if I brought them a buyer, they would probably sell. So my next step is, I'm going to try it out because I saw good results with random strangers, is sending a similar letter to my database, saying, hey, here's shadow inventory that I know about, and here are all of the buyers that I'm working with currently. If you see something that looks like it would match up to your needs, reach out to me and let me know. And then taking it a step further with the BombBomb, we're going all old school now, right? QR codes were almost dead in the water, and now they're back in a big way. So I made a QR code that links to a BombBomb video. So when they open up the letter, they scan that QR code and they'll get a personalized video from me just saying, hey, the market has been super interesting. I normally wouldn't be sending out a letter like this, but trying to play matchmaker. Can you help me out? So
I love it.
Report back on results with that.
Hey, Scott, another thing you could do with those QR codes. First of all, thank you last week for your BombBomb video that you did. I mean, that's little seminar, it was great.
Good.
I re-signed on BombBomb and I used it and I sent it out and I got a couple of responses. So I was pretty psyched about that. But the QR codes, so what I did on this website, you can make a free QR code, but then you can order stickers of your QR code of whatever it is. I like the BombBomb idea. And you could put it on the side of your car. And so, so I saw somebody
slapping them on all the light bulbs, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you could do like 6-inch ones, 3-inch ones, 1-inch ones, like ones that you could put on the ground, and like I don't know, you could put them everywhere. But I think that's a great idea that you could hook it right up to a BombBomb video. I did it to my website in the app, the Keller William app. So I've been putting them on everything.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Scott, though. That was great last week.
So Scott, I love the combo of mailer to video. right? Talk about hitting somebody.
Yeah.
When you hit somebody from an angle they're not used to getting hit before, it becomes much more memorable. You could send postcards for the next 10 years. They've gotten postcards their whole lives. You do one little thing like that. I did a billboard when I was young of me laying down across my website name. This is probably 12, 13 years ago. People still talk about that, right? So when you stand out in a certain way, it becomes super, super powerful. And I had talked to somebody recently about putting a little video together and mailing it direct. They have these little things that you can upload an MP4 to or MPEG, right, into it. So when somebody gets the card, they open it, it plays a video. You don't even have to do that now. Scott hit it on the head. Get a good call to action, put that QR code, let them open the mailer, and then they just scan that picture, and boom, they're watching your video. You're talking to them direct. So phenomenal, phenomenal idea. Aida, what were you gonna say there? You were gonna say something else a couple minutes ago?
No, I was just asking a question which got answered already. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. So I think we ran this here. So I'm gonna end up rearranging some of these masterminds that I had planned. So next week, Abel, make sure that you plug in. We'll make it all about commissions, right? Different scripts that we can use to ensure that we can protect our commission in this market. And also going against discounts on the buy side, your Redfins and your other companies who promote literally cutting that, cutting that commission as part of their value added back to their clients. Anybody else have any last minute things they want to throw out here? All right, beautiful. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I apologize for my background. Usually it's a little more professional, but hopefully everybody's can, leave here today with one, if not two or three. I know I did. I've learned at least one thing that we're going to implement here moving forward. So thank everybody who participated for participating, and we will see you soon. Have a great day, everybody.